get to talk about the sequel to Jurassic Park. We're talking about The Lost World by Michael Crichton. And I need to bring in a little bit of background knowledge with this. Michael Crichton didn't do sequels. He just didn't do them. And Jurassic Park was pretty closed. But with the success of Spielberg's film, many people came up to him to write a sequel, including Spielberg, who said, I'm going to do a second film. And so Crichton kind of writes a rebuttal to Spielberg's first film with The Lost World. The other caveat with this is that Ian Malcolm is back. So spoilers to Jurassic Park, but it thematically ends with the death of John Hammond and the death of Ian Malcolm. Ian Malcolm dies of his injuries he sustained from the T-Rex attack. Well, we now retcon this to he barely survived, and that's why he was away from all the others when they were in quarantine at the end of the book in Costa Rica. During his recovery process, he is approached by an archaeologist named Levine who's kind of like a weird nepo baby who thinks that there is a lost world. And so for the context of this book, a lost world is going off the theory that a meteor killed all the dinosaurs at the end of the late Cretaceous. And a lost world would be some corner of the globe where the meteor didn't hit and dinosaurs still roam free. Because, well, there aren't any dinosaurs left on Isla Nublar because it got firebombed by the Costa Rican government. So there's none of those left. But dinosaurs keep showing up on the coast of Costa Rica, mostly dead, for various reasons. A lot of them are compies, that sort of thing, and they clearly aren't coming from Isla Nublar, so there has to be somewhere else where there are dinosaurs. And Levine wants to study them. Levine is getting a group of researchers together, which consist of Ian Malcolm, Jack Doc Levine, and his assistant Eddie Carr. They also want Ian Malcolm's former, I guess, girlfriend, Sarah Harding, who is an expert in studying like big cats and stuff on the continent of Africa. Meanwhile, Dodson wants to get a sample of these dinosaurs, and he's gotten a group together to go take them, get dinosaurs from Biosim so they can clone them or do whatever, because InGen no longer exists, so Biosim has no competition at this point. When Levine goes off on his own and goes missing, Malcolm, Eddie Carr, and Doc go to rescue him from this island, which turns out to be Isla Sorna, near Isla Nublar, which is a deserted jungle island. Like, no one lives there. And Sarah Harding's supposed to join them. She ends up running into Dodson, who attempts to murder her by throwing her off the boat. And also, to add to all this, 2 kids stow away in the vehicles that Malcolm's bringing. And they are Kelly and Arby. Arby is a gifted student who's 2 grades ahead of where he's supposed to be, and Kelly's his pal who's really smart, but she's having struggles socially because of being as intelligent as she is. The kids make fun of her. She also doesn't have a very good home life, which is hinted at that her mother's boyfriend's kind of a creep and creeps on her, but it's not really dwelled on. So this book does a lot of similar things that Jurassic Park did character-wise. So how Tim gravitated to Dr. Grant. Kelly gravitates to Dr. Sarah Harding. And instead of Tim with the computers, we have Arby, who's good with computers. Because it turns out that InGen grew all the dinosaurs on Isla Sorna. And things just aren't right with the dinosaurs. And that's where I'll sort of leave it, plot-wise. Because the less you know about Lost World, the better, I think. Knowing too much may turn off a lot of readers. This is not Spielberg's film. It has a few characters that are the same, and a couple plot points, and one action set piece that's the same. But you won't see a T-Rex running around in San Diego. You won't see really see the raptors in the tall grass. There's a similar sequence, but it's much different and not as big scale. Basically, Crichton has slimmed down the cast because there were a lot of characters in Jurassic Park. He's cut down the cast substantially, and he simplified the story. It really boils down to trying to find out why the dinosaurs are not acting the way they're supposed to. And that's interesting. And also surviving the island. Because a lot of things go wrong that are in typical Jurassic Park fashion. For instance, all of Doc's vehicles he builds, because he's an engineer, they run on ion lithium batteries. Very revolutionary for the time. It's kind of funny we now live in times where electric cars are somewhat common, but the problem with ion lithium batteries is they die, especially if they don't have solar hookups, and there's no way to charge them in the jungle. So naturally, when their vehicles stop working, it causes chaos. But overall, what do I think of Lost World? It's okay. In a lot of ways, I like it because I don't like the Lost World film. With the exception of the Roland Tembo character and the juxtaposition of him with, I never remember the character's name, but Vince Vaughn's eco-terrorist character. It's very interesting, but overall, Lost World is a very stupid film that wants to be taken seriously and have eco-politics and stuff, but is overall just really stupid. And that's saying something from this franchise, because just about every sequel to Jurassic Park is various degrees of insufferably stupid. This is... I think a lot of people like Lost World that are my age or a little older because of the Kenner toy line, which was awesome, and I was just a little too young to appreciate it. And in my opinion, no Jurassic Park toy line has surpassed Lost World's toy line with the amount of vehicles versus dinosaurs, the command center van playset. It was just awesome. Just awesome stuff. I mean, the Bull T-Rex, also known as the Gulper T-Rex, which was something that was supposed to come out in the second wave of Jurassic Park dinosaur figures, but was repurposed where it would eat action figures. I mean, Mattel has copied that from Kenner in the Jurassic World series. You can get dinosaurs that have that feature. And that's so cool. But Lost World, the film, is not good. It's just not. And the book is just okay. And I think that was the point. Jurassic Park, the book, is lightning in the bottle. You're not going to get much better than that. And the film is very much the same way. They're just perfect as what they are. And any sequel's going to fall in comparison. It very few times does lightning strike twice, and this is no exception to that rule. Do I hate this book? No. In fact, I like it very much, with some caveats. The big one being, I don't get why Ian Malcolm is here again. Why couldn't it be new characters? Or, hell, maybe Muldoon would have been better equipped for this. Grant, there's nothing you could do with Grant, and very little you could do with Sadler at this point. But Ian Malcolm was like, for sure dead. And we brought him back for this, only for him to get injured again and be loopy on drugs, and not as interesting, because we already did that. There's a lot of been there, done that stuff in this. But at the same time, we have a few sequences I really like. For instance, there's a scene where a character's stuck in a cage and is being flung. The cage is being flung around by velociraptors. It's pretty terrifying. There's some great T-Rex moments, as well as velociraptor moments, but the number one sequence that sticks in my mind is Doc has to go find gas for a vehicle. This is near the climax of the book, and he's running around out there in this area where the velociraptors won't go, and it turns out that there are dinosaurs that are like chameleons, and they keep... The only reason he can see them is that there's a storm going on, and then like light would flash on them, or they're shining flashlights on the dinosaurs, and it keeps messing up their camouflage scheme. And it's a very creepy sequence. But like the first book, this one ends abruptly, and there's no way for a third one. In fact, as I recall, Crichton was approached to do a third one because, well, this franchise was pretty lucrative, and they had sequences from his previous two books they wanted to incorporate into a third movie, which is how Jurassic Park 3 got put together, and he said no. And I think that's for the best. Lost World, for all its perks with its characters, I think the story's just alright. It improves on certain things, like the kid characters are much better than this than they were in Jurassic Park. They're more useful, they're more likable. They're both more likable. Sarah Harding's probably my favorite character. She ends up on her own in the jungle barefoot and has to survive, and that's some fun stuff there, as well as there's like a motorcycle chase with a velociraptor that's fun, that is totally ripped off in Jurassic World and made stupid with Chris Pratt. And having Dodson come back was nice, and that's something they use in Dominion and also ruin. So, like, a lot of the things in Lost World that have been put in films, they have just kind of ruined, because Lost World's not a real filmable book. To make a faithful adaptation of Lost World wouldn't be that great. I also like that Levine is our new Hammond. He's not nearly as big an asshole, but he is incredibly selfish and pretty useless. Especially when shit hits the fan. And, you know, it's kind of an interesting juxtaposition. They do something different with Levine than they did with, like, Hammond's character, where Hammond is there pretty much to debate with Ian Malcolm. Whereas Levine, he is incredibly selfish and wants to do his work, but he isn't necessarily a bad person. So, he's just plain selfish, whereas Hammond's just irredeemable. I think Levine has some positives to him. Not a lot, but enough. So, anyway, what would I rank Lost World? I give it a 4 out of 5. It's worth your time to check out if you really love the first book. But this isn't the film, Lost World. And that should be, like, said before you go into this book. It is not the film. So, anyway, have a nice day.